One of the things that has really helped me to understand the runes of the Younger Futhark is the system that I was taught of associations with particular deities and individual runes, because it's much easier to learn through story. So if you have one rune for one deity, then you can read the mythology, understand the deity, explore their mythology, and it can really help you to understand the rune itself. So in this video, I'm going to run through my associations with each rune and each deity. So you should ask, where does this information come from? I'm not suggesting this is the way to understand the runes. I am merely suggesting it was the way I was taught and that it works for me. So I'm not suggesting this is, the only way. Basically, I was not always interested in the runes. In fact, I was really interested in druidry for many years and I loved it. I went to various druid camps, but I wanted a personal teacher. And so around possibly 1996, 1997, I started to become aware of a martial tradition called staff. My husband at the time was very much interested in this as well. And then basically in the summer of 1999, my husband wanted to go to Orkney to meet a staff teacher there and learn some of the martial training from him. Whilst we were on holiday in Orkney, because I'd already been to Orkney, so I was really happy to go there for a holiday. I got chatting to the chap. His name is Sean Brassfield Thorpe. And Sean started to talk to me about the Norse gods, the runes, the mythology. And all I can say is it just made sense. I felt like somebody had switched a light on in my head. I felt as if finally somebody was talking about esoteric wisdom in a way that made sense to me. And so basically, the Christmas, New Year, 1999, 2000, I moved to Orkney because I wanted to learn from Sean. And so my understanding, yes, I have done a lot of reading. Yes, I've talked to a lot of different people, but predominantly it comes from Sean. So Sean's teacher is a chap called Ivar Hashfold. You can Google him. He's got a site. I think it's called Heimbu. I can put there's some links on my website. And Ivar teaches his family tradition. We are really lucky that he chose to teach outside of the family. So the runes and the deities that I work with come from Ivar's Norwegian family oral tradition. So there's no suggestion that this is the only way that you can learn the runes, but it works for me. That's all I can say. It worked for Sean. And there's quite a lot of us out here that work with these particular associations. So just running through them really quickly. For me, the Fee rune is definitely Frey. We have Vidar, who Odin's son, who kills Fenrir. We have Thor. We have Odin, Hel, and Loki, and that creates the first Et. Then we have Heimdall. We have the three Norns, Ud, Verdandi, and Skuld. We have Skarthe, Jord, Balder and his son Forseti, Tyr, Frigg, Freya, Njord, and Ul. And it's that simple. So having those associations between the rune and the deity allows me, for example, let's take Frey's rune, Fee. There's lots of ways to understand this rune. The name fee, we still use it in English. It means money paid. So it can mean movable wealth, gold, cattle, which would have once been a movable wealth. But then if we look at Frey, he's a very masculine god, god of Vanir god, connected with fertility, growth, the growth cycle, the harvest, the corn god. He's also associated with his passion for good, and that story where he climbed up onto the high seat and caught a glimpse of Gerd and then gave up his sword for this one night with Gerd. And so, yes, this can mean gold, wealth, fertility, abundance, movable wealth, but it can also mean passion, sexuality, but moving into obsession. So, for me, I definitely really associate each of the runes of the Younger Futhark with a particular deity, or, as in the case with the Norns and Balder, more than one deity. I also use the rune poems. If you go to my website, I will put a link in the comments. Each of these 16 runes has a particular, two actually, Old Icelandic and Norwegian. They are on my website and they can really help us to understand the meaning of the runes. I haven't prepared this as well as I should have done. If I was intelligent, I would have printed them out. But let's have a look at Scarthay. So the Isrin, ice, to me, that's definitely Scarthay. We think about Scarthay, we think about how her father was killed by the Aesir and how she marched in, and demanded her weregild, demanded compensation. And she was made to laugh by Loki. And she chose her husband by looking at the feet and married Njord. And you have this strange marriage where neither of them is, they seem compatible, but he cannot live on the windswept icy mountains and she cannot live at the shoreline. Then we think about the rune poem and we talk about the rune poem talks about the broad bridge, ice they call the broad bridge, the blind need to be led. And when we think about ice and we think about how in cold climates it would form, a bridge, the surface water becomes thick enough to walk upon. To me, surface water, the surface tension is very much connected with Verdandi, the middle of the three Norns, and the power of the moment, the potential of each moment to become your best person. Whereas with Scarthay, the surface tension on the river is frozen and becomes solid. The blind need to be led. If you're walking across a man-made bridge, it goes from A to B. Really simple. If you are using the ice on the top of a river as a bridge, you can start at any point and finish at any point. The ice can become mesmerizing. It's beautiful, but it preserves and it creates a stasis. I can almost imagine someone walking on the roof of the river, the ice, not quite sure where to get off. Shall I just go a little bit more? And getting lost in the potential. For me, one of the key meanings of the Is or the Scarthay rune is this power of potential. If you have too many choices, it is easy to get lost in doing nothing. Procrastination through nothing. Because the human brain isn't meant to deal with so much choice. I mean, how many times have you, and I know I've done it, gone through my streaming services trying to find something to watch, spent an hour looking at all the different choices and actually not watching anything. I go back, to the years gone by when I had, 4 or 5 TV channels, and I would go through them and, oh, this is definitely what I want to watch because it's the best of that limited choice. So to me, Scarthay being linked, the East rune, to that rune poem, it allows me to see that. So that's how I unpick the meanings of the runes. I work with the different deities associated to each of the runes. I work with the rune poems. And of course, as a shaman, I chant. I use the lock, the chant. I enter an altered state of consciousness, the side, to experience how the rune feels. So I'm slowly starting to share more about this, both here and through my blogs and on my website. I'm creating a page on my website which will collate all the information that I've shared on the runes of the Younger Futhark. And I have a crib sheet which I am changing weekly as I kind of collate my ideas together. So if you'd like to find out more about the Younger Futhark, do go along to my website. Subscribe to my newsletter. It's completely free. There's no tie-ins, and I look forward to sharing more about the runes of the Younger Futhark with you.